Have you ever stopped to wonder what a man truly offers when he makes love? It's not just about his body, nor merely a physical performance. What he gives, often without realizing it, is his soul. A soul that's hungry for validation, for affection, for the deep, aching feeling of being chosen and seen. But this offering doesn't come plainly. It's wrapped up in desire, lust, and virility. It's not just skin on skin. Beneath the surface flows a deeper current. At its core, a man's true desire isn't just sex. It's to be seen, to be felt, to be recognized as whole, even in his brokenness. When a man kneels before a woman's body with his mouth, he's not chasing mere pleasure. He's chasing affection he may never have received. What appears physical is, in truth, spiritual. What looks like lust is often ancestral emptiness masquerading as power. When intimacy is genuine, it strips away the performance and reveals the fragility beneath the armor. It is in this raw, unguarded moment that Jung's psychology comes alive. The body becomes an oracle, the shadow, a mirror. But only to the one courageous enough to shatter the mask and dive into the painful truth. Jung didn't see desire as simple instincts. He saw intimacy as a gateway between worlds, between the conscious and the unconscious. As he said, every act of intimacy reveals more than it appears. Desire doesn't arise in the body alone. It's born in the psyche, with roots buried deep in the unconscious. Sex is an exchange of energy, shadows, and intention. And when the wrong woman enters a man's life, what should be pleasure turns into physical, emotional, and spiritual exhaustion. In this video, you'll discover why so many men feel empty after sex, why the fatigue they experience isn't from their body, but from their soul. Because every time you surrender without presence, without true connection, you trade pieces of yourself for mere crumbs of validation. The female body is sacred, and so is yours. When two sacred spaces meet without awareness, chaos can erupt on the energetic level. You're not merely engaging in sex, you're opening portals, and not every portal leads to a place of safety. As this journey unfolds, you'll start to recognize what's always been there, yet no one ever showed you how to interpret it. When a man fully surrenders in intimacy, he does more than expose his body. He unveils hidden layers of his soul, the fear of rejection, the insecurity he cloaks with toughness, the silence weighed down by an unseen past. True intimacy isn't just about physical connection, it's about feeling vulnerable deep within. Because in those moments of surrender, it's in a fleeting look or the quiet pause between touches that the invisible child emerges, the child who only ever longed to be loved without conditions. And that raw exposure is far more frightening than any physical bearing. How many men break down quietly inside while their face remains stoic? Strength's mask doesn't shatter with anger or noise. It fades away in silence. A single touch can awaken echoes of abandonment. A small gesture can reveal emotional wounds that have never found words. Jung said the unconscious is always speaking, and in intimacy, it screams. The body becomes a stage where the soul enacts its hidden pain. This is why many men retreat when they feel too close, because confronting intimacy means confronting the emotional mirror, and not everyone is ready to face who they truly are. The collapse of masculine strength is rarely heralded by an explosive crisis. Rather, it begins subtly, with a single touch, an intrusion that slips quietly through the armour we so carefully construct. It is in this moment that the guarded self begins to stir, awakening long-forgotten chambers of the psyche. Most men, conditioned by society and culture, come to believe that their worth in intimacy is measured by technique and performance, that pleasure is a skill to be mastered, a display to be perfected. Do it well, impress her, prove you are enough, they are told. Yet, from the perspective of deep psychology, desire is not a mere physical act of conquest, it is an archetypal force, a call from the unconscious to reunite the fractured self. Carl Jung spoke of the anima and the animus, the feminine within the masculine within the feminine, recognizing that within every man resides a delicate, vulnerable aspect, often repressed or hidden beneath layers of social expectation and personal defense. This feminine is not a weakness, but rather a vital source of emotional depth, intuition, and relational presence. The paradox, then, is this. When a man truly surrenders in intimacy, he is not merely engaging in the physical act of touching another body, he is reaching into the depths of his own soul, confronting the shadow and opening the gateway to wholeness. Sacred pleasure emerges not from control or mastery, but from what Jung might call presence, a state of profound awareness where the body becomes an oracle, a mirror reflecting the unvarnished truth of the self. Free from masks and illusions. This is where desire transcends mere physicality and touches the soul. Ritual sexuality doesn't start within the body. It begins with silent listening and reviving that buried sensitivity. It's not about proving anything to others, but about reconnecting with your true self beneath the protective layers. When that happens, pleasure transforms into healing. However, for many men, this still seems too risky. Many claim to seek love, yet deep down they actually yearn for approval. Desire stems not only from the urge to connect, but also from the historical void, the pressing need to be chosen at last. It's as if every relationship, an unseen child within, waits for someone to acknowledge them, to affirm their significance. This is where the trap lies. When the craving for love surpasses the ability to love oneself, a man starts to morph, erase himself, and sacrifices his essence for mere scraps of acceptance. Have you encountered that man? The one who does everything, is always available, always kind, and yet remains unnoticed? It's not that he's wrong, he's caught in an emotional cycle. Excessive kindness often masks pain disguised as virtue. He's not genuinely loving, he's pleading for affection through acts of performance. This is where dark projections start, expecting someone else to rescue him from his lack of self-love. But that never succeeds. It requires courage to look within and ask, what am I trying to prove? Often the effort to be the ideal partner is just a denied reflection of shattered self-esteem. Once a man grasps this truth, he begins to dismantle the performance facade. He taps into his authentic presence, realizing he doesn't need to be perfect to be loved. To reach this state, he must confront his own shadow. In that moment, everything changes. Carl Jung once articulated a profound truth in psychology. Whatever you don't bring to consciousness will manifest in your life as destiny. This is a fate that befalls many men. They think they are making decisions, that they are merely reenacting unresolved pain. The shadow represents the hidden hurt and rejected parts of oneself, steering one's life unnoticed. Consequently, each relationship echoes past traumas. This is why closeness can feel perilous. Unresolved pain is repeated. The shadow, the unseen, wounded, rejected aspect of oneself subtly takes control. Thus, each relationship mirrors old traumas, forming a never-ending cycle. Intimacy feels hazardous, not due to a toxic partner, but because internal wounds remain unhealed. He presents a facade of strength, yet inwardly he is crumbling. He seeks resolution for his unhealed existence in others. In this eternal struggle, the body either becomes a barrier or a connector. It hinges on whether he perceives emotional vulnerability as a threat or a chance for healing. The shadow isn't what you detest, it's what you conceal from yourself. The fear of weakness, the dread of rejection, the unseen craving for validation, all reside in the unconscious, biding their time to surface. And where do they surface? In a touch that evokes memories, in the emotional reflection of intimacy, in repeated choices that appear coincidental but aren't? Every man, sooner or later, projects onto another what he hasn't yet uncovered inside himself. He gazes at a woman and unconsciously casts her in every role: lover, mother, confidant, savior. The real problem isn't loving, it's expecting someone else to fill a void within. That isn't love, but the shadow's echo of an ancestral emptiness, a phantom longing for care he never experienced. Such projection almost always leads to disappointment. When you place someone on a pedestal, you don't see her, you see the wounded mirror of your own soul. That idealization becomes a cage, and at the first misstep, the entire fantasy crumbles. The man who once worshipped now despises. Desire turns to bitterness because he sought outside what he was meant to awaken inside. His dormant instincts, his repressed sensitivity, his genuine presence. In that frantic quest for completeness, many men lose their way. They mistake intensity for love, lack for connection, presence for redemption. No matter how extraordinary she might be, no woman can reflect a man who's never met himself. The true mirror is internal. To face that naked reflection requires courage that most men never summon. Yet that very bravery is the gateway to the next level. Too many spend their lives waiting to be affirmed, a compliment, a choice, a tender touch that says, "You are enough." But external validation is fleeting. Whatever arrives from the outside will always depart. Real healing begins the moment a man stops begging for affection, because the thirst to be chosen can only be when he chooses himself first. Self-knowledge isn't a theory in a book, but a lived practice, a continual turning inward with raw presence, a willingness to listen in silence, a readiness to stare down the existing void instead of fleeing. In that place where the soul lies in ruins and the true masculine awakening takes root, intimacy ceases to be a performance and becomes a mirror of an unvarnished truth. When desire springs from within, it doesn't plead, it invites. It moves with lightness, an expression of the soul. In that moment, sexuality transforms into ritual, not an escape, but a homecoming. Sacred pleasure is born of plenitude. The shadow becomes an oracle, and silence yields wisdom. But to arrive there, a man must pass through the ego's prison and strip away one by one the masks of false strength. On that inner pilgrimage, he rediscovers what the world tried to bury: his own exposed humanity. Not every woman should have access to your body or your energy. When sex is approached without awareness, it can become a conduit through which your vitality is drained without you even realizing it. Some women are emotionally wounded, addicted to drama, and disconnected from their true selves, carrying an inner emptiness. When you connect with that emptiness, it consumes the most sacred aspects of yourself. Your clarity, your strength, and your sense of direction. You leave the encounter feeling more depleted than when you began, yet you might mistake it for pleasure. Her past experiences with other men, her emotional dependencies, and her unconscious habits are all imprinted on her body. Sex becomes the gateway through which these energies can infiltrate your life without seeking permission. You aren't merely engaging with her physically, you're also connecting with her energy, her traumas, and her unresolved issues. If you aren't aware, this connection can lead to contamination. You may start to experience fatigue, apathy, and confusion without understanding the cause. This form of intimacy is an unseen exchange, yet it can be deeply harmful. Having physical strength, projecting false confidence, or posting spiritual quotes means little if you continually open yourself up to women who thrive in chaos. True change calls for energetic discernment, presence, and a new decision-making pattern. If you keep giving yourself away just to fill a void, your soul will remain shattered, and one day it might not return from where it's been lost. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you thought it was mere desire, only to leave feeling more lost than before? How often have you mistaken pleasure for connection, giving your energy to someone who couldn't even manage her own? The truth might sting, but it can also liberate you. From now on, you can't claim ignorance. You now realize that sex is not a mere activity, it's a ritual. The body is an oracle, and every intimate decision you make either reconstructs you or sinks you further into your own abyss. The choice is now yours. Will you continue giving yourself entirely to someone who only wants a fragment of you? Or will you start demanding a level of awareness that matches the worth of your soul? If this message resonated with you, share the part that spoke to your soul in the comments. If this has reached you, share it with other men who are still unaware. Subscribe, because what we're uncovering is not just about sex, it's about who you truly are when no one is watching. Thank you for watching. Keep exploring the depths and awaken the light within. I'll see you in the next video.